Wait. Wait, are you going to put that in me? The giant mail-order, dragon woman bride, froze, her crystalline scales shimmering under the cargo bay's fluorescent lights. But the man, John, simply held up the small metallic device with a patient smile. It's just a translation chip. Aliana, he said softly, keeping his distance. For your ear, so we can understand each other properly. Aliana's massive form, nearly 8 feet of scaled muscle and membrane. Wings relaxed slightly. Her vertical pupils dilated as she studied the tiny piece of technology between his fingers. In her world, on the distant colony of she'd been told Earthmen were small, fragile creatures who wanted wives from the stronger species. The matching service had promised her a new life, escape from the volcanic mines, where her kind labored endlessly. But nothing had prepared her for the confusion of actually being here. Translation. She rumbled in her native tongue, the words coming out as harmonic vibrations that rattled the cargo containers around them. John touched his own ear, where an identical chit glinted. I got mine installed last week. Been practicing your language, but I'm terrible at it. He offered an awkward smile. This way, we can really talk. The transportation facility hummed around them. Automated systems processing the hundreds of interspecies matches arriving daily from across the Federation. Through the viewport, Aliana could see Earth's blue ocean so different from the lava seas of home. She'd signed the contract in desperation, agreeing to marry a stranger for the chance at a better life. The agency had shown her John's profile. A xenobotanist, they'd said. Whatever that meant. Someone who studied alien plants. She'd imagined someone who would see her as a trophy. An exotic possession. The dragon women of Dracarys 7 were prized for their strength and longevity, but rarely for their minds. Aliana knelt. Dawn bringing her head closer to John's level, her inner eyelids flickered nervously. Okay, she said, pointing to her ear. Put. John approached carefully, and she noticed his hands trembled slightly. Afraid of her, or just nervous. The chip slid into her auditory canal with a slight tingle. And then, can you hear me now? John's voice suddenly made sense, the English words transforming into meaning inside her brain. Yes, Aliana gasped, then clapped her clawed hands over her mouth. I can understand you. And I can understand you, John said, his face breaking into a genuine grin. That's better. Look, Aliana, I know this whole situation is strange. The agency, the contract, all of it. But I want you to know something important. He stepped back, giving her space, and pulled out a data tablet. I'm going to transfer full citizenship rights to you right now. Federation law says mail-order spouses don't get independent status for 5 years, but there's a waiver clause. I'm activating it. Aliana's tail, which had been coiled tightly around her legs, loosened in shock. What? Why would you? Because you're not property, John said firmly, his fingers moving across the screen. You're a person who deserves full rights immediately. This marriage contract, consider it void, if you want. You can leave right now, get your own place, find your own work. I'll help you either way. There's something Aliana didn't know dragon women could produce, welled in her eyes. I don't understand. You paid the agency fee, the transport costs. Why would you free me? John sat down on a nearby crate, looking up at her towering form. 6 months ago, my sister was in a situation like yours. Different planet, different circumstances, but she was trapped in a contract she didn't want. Someone helped her escape. I made a promise then if I ever had the chance to do the same for someone else, I would. But the agency said you wanted a wife, Aliana said, confusion mixing with hope in her chest. I put in the application to help someone escape, not to own them. Jonah admitted, though, honestly, he rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. I was hoping we might actually become friends first, maybe more, if we both wanted that, but only if it's real. Not because of some contract. Aliana sat down heavily, the floor trembling under her weight. For the first time since leaving Dracarys 7, She felt like she could breathe. Friends, she repeated slowly, testing the word. I've never had a friend who wasn't my own species. First time for everything, John said. He stood up and extended his hand. So Aliana of Dracory 7. Would you like to be friends? I promise the only things I'll put in you from now on are terrible puns and too much information about rare plants. Alafa? Real. Unburdened laugh erupted from Aliana's throat, echoing through the cargo bay. She carefully took his small hand in her massive clawed one, being gentle despite her strength. Yes, she said. I think I would like that very much. John. Great, he said, brightening. Because I have a spare room in my apartment, and the botanical gardens are hiring. They need someone strong enough to help with the Titanwood trees. Those things weigh about 3 tons each. I lifted mining equipment twice that heavy, Aliana said, feeling pride swell in her chest for the first time in years. As they walked together, toward the exit, the giant dragon woman and the small human man, Aliana realized something profound. She'd crossed the galaxy expecting to be owned, but instead, she'd found something she never knew existed, a choice. And she chose to stay. Not because of a contract, but because for the first time in her life, someone had seen her as more than what she could provide. Someone had seen her as a Lian. That, she decided, was worth more than all the freedom in the galaxy. Though the freedom was pretty nice to dot end.